The radio crackled with static as Commander Jake Sullivan pressed against the jagged rocks, blood seeping through his tactical vest. Bravo position compromised, heavy fire from the eastern ridge. 3 hours into a classified reconnaissance mission in Afghanistan's Hindu Kush Mountains, and everything had gone to hell. Carlos Rodriguez, the team's senior tactical officer, crawled beside him, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. "We're outgunned and outmanned, sir. Extraction's impossible with that heavy machine gun nest up there." Around them, the remaining 4 members of the SEAL team returned sporadic fire, conserving their dwindling ammunition. Mike Thompson, the team's sharpshooter, grimaced as he reloaded his rifle. "I count at least 30 hostiles. We need a miracle." Sullivan knew the brutal math. Their position would be overrun within minutes. He reached for his radio to call in their final coordinates when a sharp crack echoed across the valley. Then another, and another. What the hell? Thompson raised his scope, scanning the opposite ridge. Someone's picking them off. The insurgent's machine gun fell silent. Through his binoculars, Sullivan spotted the gunner slumped over his weapon, a perfect entry wound visible on his temple. Rodriguez grabbed the radio. "Unknown sniper, identify yourself." The only response was another precision shot, dropping an insurgent commander nearly 800 yards away. "Those shots are impossible in these wind conditions," Thompson whispered, professional awe in his voice. "Who is that?" The mysterious fire continued, methodically eliminating the enemy forces. As the insurgents scattered in confusion, Sullivan caught movement on the far ridgeline. A slight figure with what appeared to be a modified M24 rifle moving with fluid grace between positions. "Is that a woman?" Rodriguez's disbelief was palpable. The figure shifted again, sunlight briefly illuminating long hair tucked under a faded cap. She looked directly toward their position, raised a hand in a brief salute, then vanished behind the rocks. "This is our window," Sullivan ordered. "Move to extraction point Charlie, now." The team moved swiftly through the pass, occasionally hearing the crack of their guardian angel's rifle, eliminating pursuers. At the extraction point, as the helicopter descended, Sullivan scanned the ridges one last time. For just a moment, he spotted her athletic build, face obscured by a tactical scarf, the distinctive rifle slung across her back before she disappeared into the landscape like a ghost. Back at base, the debriefing turned into a mystery. "There are no female snipers assigned to this region," the intelligence officer insisted. "No operatives of any kind matching that description." "Well, someone saved our asses out there," Thompson countered, "and they shot better than anyone I've ever seen." Later that night, reviewing satellite imagery, Rodriguez called Sullivan to his quarters. "I found something." He pointed to personnel files on his screen. Victoria Stone, Marine Scout sniper, reported Kia 3 years ago in this same region. Sullivan studied the photograph. The determined eyes, the confident half-smile. "That's impossible. Look at her service record. Expert marksman specialized in high-angle mountain warfare. Her body was never recovered." Over the next week, Sullivan obtained permission for a reconnaissance mission to a remote village near where they'd been ambushed. An elderly local man regarded them warily until Sullivan mentioned the woman sniper. The old man's expression softened. "Ah, the mountain guardian. She comes and goes with the winter winds. After the warlords killed her team, she stayed protecting us." "Her team?" Rodriguez pressed. "Doctors, healers, all murdered. She alone survived. Now she watches over our children as if they were her own." As they prepared to leave, a village child tugged Sullivan's sleeve, pressing something into his hand, a spent rifle cartridge with distinctive markings. That night, as they camped in the foothills, shadows moved at the perimeter. Sullivan reached for his weapon, but stopped when he saw her standing just beyond the firelight. Victoria Stone very much alive. "You should be more careful, Commander," she said softly. "These mountains have eyes. Why didn't you come in? You're still one of us." Her smile held sadness. "I found my purpose here. The official story of my death gives me freedom to operate where others can't. We can help you," Sullivan offered. "You already have." She nodded toward the sleeping village in the distance. By letting me stay dead in your records, you helped me protect them. Before he could respond, she melted back into the darkness. By morning, no trace remained of her visit except a single shell casing placed beside Sullivan's gear, her signature, her promise to remain their unknown guardian. In his report, Sullivan wrote simply, "Local intelligence inconclusive. Some legends, he decided, deserve to remain in the shadows." The last thing Commander David Martinez remembered before the ambush was the eerie silence. One moment, SEAL Team Bravo was gathering intelligence in the remote mountain village. The next, they were surrounded by insurgents who seemed to materialize from the very rocks themselves. Bullets ricocheted off stone walls as Nathan Davis dragged his wounded commander behind a crumbling structure. Ryan Parker frantically tried to radio for extraction, but only static answered. "Comms are jammed," Parker shouted over the gunfire. "We're on our own." Davis checked their ammunition. 20 minutes, maybe less, before we're overrun. Blood seeped through Martinez's makeshift bandage as he surveyed their desperate situation. The first high-velocity round came without warning. An insurgent commander, gesturing orders from a seemingly safe position 600 yards away, suddenly collapsed. Another crack echoed through the valley, and a second enemy fighter fell. The SEALs exchanged confused glances. None of them had fired. "Who the hell is that?" Davis whispered, scanning the ridge line through his scope. 3 more precision shots in rapid succession eliminated the machine gun nest that had pinned them down. The remaining insurgents scattered in confusion, firing wildly at unseen ghosts. "Unknown sniper, identify yourself," Parker called into the radio. Only silence answered. Taking advantage of the chaos, the team moved swiftly toward their secondary extraction point. As they navigated a narrow pass, Davis caught a glimpse of movement on the high ridge. A slight figure with a rifle, moving with remarkable agility across terrain that would challenge even the most experienced operators. "That's a woman," he said in disbelief. "Impossible," Parker replied. But his voice lacked conviction. 3 weeks later, at their forward operating base, Intelligence Officer Marcus Harper slid a file across the table. "Found your mystery sniper." The photo showed a young woman with intense eyes and athletic build holding an Olympic medal. Rebecca Harrington, American biathlete, silver medalist, disappeared 3 years ago while volunteering with a medical mission. "That's not possible," Davis said. "This woman had military-grade skills. No civilian could make those shots." Harper shrugged. Her grandfather was Marine Scout sniper in Vietnam. Her father served in Force Recon. She grew up on a ranch in Montana, been shooting since she was 5. But officially, she has no military training. And unofficially, Martinez asked. Unofficially, local villages have stories about a foreign woman they call the guardian who protects them from warlords. Always from distance, always vanishes afterward. The team spent days searching the mountains, following whispered rumors and faded tracks. On the 5th day, as they prepared to abandon the search, they discovered a hidden observation post in an abandoned shepherd's hut recently used, with shell casings matching those from the ambush. "She's watching us," Davis realized. That night, she came to them. The team awoke to find her sitting calmly by their dying fire, her rifle within reach, but not threatening. "Rebecca Harrington?" Martinez asked. She nodded once. "The woman who had that name died when her medical team was massacred by the same warlords who ambushed you." Her voice was soft, but carried steel underneath. "I couldn't save them then. I made sure it never happens again. You're American. We can get you home." Parker offered. Something like sadness crossed her face. "This is my home now. I've trained local women to defend their villages. We protect what the military can't." "That's not your responsibility," Davis argued. "Isn't it?" She gestured toward the distant villages. Every child sleeping safely tonight would disagree. Before dawn, she led them to a hidden cache of intelligence, detailed maps of insurgent movements, supply routes, and weapons depots. "This is what you came for, isn't it? Now you can complete your mission." When extraction helicopters arrived the next day, Harrington was gone. The team offered her a place on the choppers via radio, but received only a brief response. Some guardians need to remain in the shadows. As they lifted off, Davis spotted her watching from a distant ridge. She raised her hand in a brief salute before vanishing into the landscape that had become her home, leaving behind only her legend and the grateful whispers of those she had chosen to protect. The first thing you need to understand about Captain Sarah Ghost Wilson is that she wasn't supposed to survive that Tuesday morning in Afghanistan. Hell, according to command, she wasn't even supposed to be flying. 3 weeks prior, she'd been grounded after what the brass called excessive risk-taking during close air support operations. What they really meant was that Ghost had a habit of getting too close, staying too long, and bringing her bird home looking like Swiss cheese. The A-10 Thunderbolt III call sign Warthog 19 sat motionless on the tarmac at Forward Operating Base Mitchell, its titanium bathtub cockpit gleaming dull gray in the pre-dawn light. Inside the operations tent, Major Harrison flipped through incident reports with increasing irritation. "Wilson's done," he told anyone who'd listen. "That woman's got a death wish, and I won't have her taking government property with her when she goes." But that Tuesday morning, everything changed. It started with a radio call that would haunt everyone who heard it. "Overlord Base, this is Ranger 35. We're taking heavy fire. Grid 41 SQR 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Immediate CAS required." "How copy?" The voice crackled through static, young and desperate. A patrol of 8 Rangers had walked into a carefully orchestrated ambush in the Kandahar Valley, pinned down by coordinated small arms fire and RPGs from elevated positions. The Taliban had been planning this for weeks. What happened next would become legend. At 0647 hours, radar operators watched in disbelief as an A-10 lifted off from Mitchell without authorization. No flight plan, no clearance. Ghost had simply walked to her aircraft, ignored the crew chief's protests, and fired up those twin General Electric TF-34 engines. "Warthog 19, you're not cleared for takeoff. Return to parking immediately," came the tower's sharp command. The response was pure Ghost. "Tower Warthog 19. Souls on board 1. Fuel state full. Ordnance full. Rangers are dying. Going to work." Major Harrison burst into the control tower just in time to see the distinctive silhouette disappearing into the mountain haze. Its straight wings and twin engines unmistakable even at distance. His face went white. "Give me battalion on the horn." Now, 23 minutes after takeoff, she found them. The Kandahar Valley stretched below like a wound carved into the Hindu Kush. From 800 feet, Ghost could see the patrol's predicament clearly. 8 Rangers pressed flat against a dried riverbed, while muzzle flashes winked from caves and fighting positions carved into the valley walls. The Taliban had chosen their ground well. Overlapping fields of fire, natural cover, multiple egress routes. "Ranger 35, this is Warthog 19 on station. Visual on your position. Can you mark targets?" The relief in the ground controller's voice was palpable. "Warthog 19, God bless you. We have multiple fighting positions. North wall of the valley, approximately 200 meters from our position. Be advised, we're danger close." Ghost's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision. The A-10's heads up display painted target symbols across her canopy as she rolled inverted, pulling her nose down toward the valley floor. "Danger close. I'll put it right where you need it. Keep your heads down." Ghost brought her A-10 down the throat of that valley at 300 feet. Her GAU-8 Avenger cannon already spinning up. The 30mm depleted uranium rounds found their targets with surgical precision. Not the wild spray that movies show, but controlled, devastating bursts that turned Taliban fighting positions into smoking rubble. But the Taliban weren't finished. As Ghost pulled up from her first gun run, tracers reached up from hidden positions like angry fingers. She felt the impacts before she heard them. Sharp metallic pops that spoke of holes being punched through aluminum and titanium. Her right engine temperature climbed into the yellow. "Warthog 19, I see multiple hits on your aircraft," called Ranger 35. "Are you still mission capable?" Ghost's response came through gritted teeth as she banked hard left, lining up for another pass. Ranger 35, I'm still flying. I'm still fighting. Next run from the south. Ghost made 7 attack runs in 38 minutes, each one lower than the last, each one taking more damage. By the 6th run, her right engine was trailing black smoke. By the 7th, her left main landing gear was hanging partially extended. Ranger 35, Warthog 19, you're clear to move. Get your people out of there. Warthog 19, what's your status? Do you need assistance? Ghost looked at her instrument panel, a Christmas tree of warning lights and failure indicators. Negative, Ranger 35. I'm heading home. Good hunting. 8 Rangers walked out of that valley alive because one pilot refused to let protocol bury good people.